Hello, Scribblers. I'm Katie, the founder and CEO of the Scribblers Den, your online source for writing craft courses and writing community. We've got another incredible interview for y'all today. We have the fabulous Benjamin Kamphuis with us. Benjamin has written The Walls of Totarum and The Calamities of Totarum. It's a YA fantasy dystopian series. When Benjamin's not writing, he is playing video games, advocating for mental health awareness, or bringing awareness to the importance of caring for our ecosystem. So thank you so much for joining us. I'm so happy to have you here today.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Yay. All right, so we're going to dive right into these questions because I feel like I have a lot of things I want to ask you. So first off, your books incorporate really strong themes of mental health awareness, something I think is
Mhm.
great. Um, was this your goal when you set out to write, or did it just kind of happen organically along the way that you saw these themes emerging?
Yeah, so I absolutely had mental health as the forefront because I had this magical world that I blossomed in my head and then started kind of writing that. But I had the goal the entire time that from a character perspective, I wanted real life themes in there for sure. And as a person who suffers from anxiety and didn't really recognize or talk about my anxiety until college. I
Mhm.
wanted better representation, especially in the YA space, to create a space where you do talk about your mental health, talk about your anxiety, talk about your depression, or whatever it may be, and that it's not a weakness, but it's actually something that you live with, and there are strengths to it, as long as the parts that don't feel great. So I just wanted good representation of it. Yeah.
No, that's beautiful. As a late anxiety discoverer at the age of like 40 was when I started going to like therapy and started getting medications. Like I love this. And as a teacher, I do see a lot of students who struggle with aspects of anxiety, and it's always difficult to kind of watch them because aside from like referring like to guidance or just mentioning like an email home to a parent like, hey, it seems like little Jimmy's a little stressed out right now. Maybe you want to talk to them. There's not a whole lot else you can do other than try to just help mitigate their stress at different points. So I love that you're bringing awareness to that in the YA space.
Well, especially with male men, boys, they don't
Mhm.
talk about their feelings. And
Yeah.
my main character, the story's from a male point of view, and he is a very vulnerable 18-year-old that actually talks about his life, talks about what's happening. And I wanted representation that says, hey, you can talk about this, while also being surrounded by very strong female characters that also have their own things they're kind of going with, but like literally help guide him and help him discover himself and all these things. And so I wanted open dialogue and just show that that
Yes.
is a normal thing that's okay. So
Yeah. Modeling that
yeah,
communication
yeah,
is
exactly.
that's where like I always think of books as like mirrors or windows, right? So that
Mhm.
becomes then a window for that kid to see like, oh, this is how other people deal with these things, and I can talk about it. And I
Hmm.
love that. That's fabulous.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, for me, I know that as I write, I tend to work through a lot of my own aspects of mental health. And when I look back at my different manuscripts, I'm like, oh, yeah, that's when I was dealing with this. And that's when I was dealing with this. And that was all these different things. So I'm wondering, did you have a similar experience as you were writing the Shades of Aura books?
Yeah, so there's three books for this first part of the series. I have about 25 books planned for the overall series, but for this Totarum portion, the third book, which will come out this winter, will be the conclusion for this part. Which is out in editing right now, which is exciting. But the first book really focused in on not actually saying the word anxiety at all.
Mhm.
And that's because that's what I lived through is I was worrying, I was hyperventilating, I was having panic attacks, and I didn't understand what any of those things were. And that is kind of integrated into the story. By book two, the word anxiety is actually used, and he starts getting different philosophies of how to handle anxiety, how to live with
Mhm.
it, some people view it as a weakness, some people view it as a strength, and some people view it as just a part of who you are. And so
Right.
just getting all those differing ideals and as internally from his head of like navigating that and what it means. Dissociation is a huge thing in there because I have always dissociated pretty aggressively. And
Yes.
just my
Same.
own therapy, yeah, yeah,
Mhm.
and my own therapy journey of learning what dissociation is, having some therapists say that almost view it as a weakness that I have to avoid, while other therapists are like, that's actually a strength. That's actually something that is your brain's protecting itself, and it's a very, very beautiful thing that your brain does. Obviously, you have to regulate it and, recognize when it's happening so it's not happening all the time, but just navigating that space. So I have a lot of that integrated in there of what it is to dissociate, what it is to have a panic attack and all those things, because I've lived through it and I
Right.
wanted representation of that. So that's what happened.
Yeah, no, that's beautiful. And I just want to go back to the very beginning of that. You said you have 25 books planned.
Yeah,
That's
yeah,
amazing. Oh my gosh.
yeah,
So just really quick on that note, is it all
yeah.
going to follow like the same main character, or will it kind of shift to different characters throughout
Yeah,
the same world?
this 3 book thing is just the beginning phase.
Okay.
I have phase 2 planned out for next year, with 3 books coming out, and I have them ready.
Oh
Um,
wow.
and it's going to follow different characters with different problems, but the worlds all impact each other, is all I'll say about that.
Right.
So, like, I have a
Okay.
master plan of everything that's going to collide, like Marvel-esque in a way, right? Like you
Mm.
have all these different storylines that converge at a certain point. And that's a lot to manage, let me tell you.
Yes.
And plot holes especially is I used to be like a pantser, right? Where I just would write with a whim. But if you're planning 20, 25 books that all intersect, you can't do that. You have
Oh
to
yeah,
actually
no.
plan things. And so like my notes are just wild. So
I can't even begin to
yeah.
imagine. I can't get past like a 3 book series. Like that's always my thing. Like this could be a trilogy, absolutely. And then that's it. So that's just kudos to you.
Yeah.
This is so cool.
It's fun. It's my brain is just nonstop, which is just wild too. But that's a blessing of anxiety. It never
Yeah,
stops
I'm like that's
moving.
one of the strengths, right? Like it just
Yeah,
you
right.
keep going. You can't stop
Yeah,
those thoughts and you just got to get them out there. So I'm
yep.
glad you found this outlet for it.
Yes, yes. Me too.
Um, so now that we're talking a little bit more about the world of Toterum, what was your inspiration for it, and what did you draw on to just really create Biome and bring it to life?
Yeah, so I have a degree in marine biology and then a master's in
Cool,
zoo and aquarium management.
amazing.
Um, yeah, and I have always loved coral. That has just been something that has been the biggest draw to me. And so one of the first spaces a biome I created was the coral forest, which is a above water forest that it
Oh my gosh.
mimics a coral reef in a way.
Yeah.
It's very whimsical, bright, and just like something that the main character who's never seen it before, has always dreamed of seeing. And you do get thrown into that pretty early on in my book. And then I also just have always loved dystopian-esque types of things. So
Mhm.
the city of Toterum, in my story, there are 5 auras, and you can only manipulate one of the 5 auras. The auras are perception, vigor, mentality, luck, and empathy. Main character is in a world that is run by the vigor aura people that can manipulate that aura, called officers, but he doesn't know aura is a thing. So the knowledge of aura has been suppressed by the officers, and then the citizens are oppressed through various punishments, which are pretty intense, especially with adolescents. Um, and the main character on his 18th birthday sees this mist above people's heads. He moves it. It launches him into having to escape his walled city of Toterum and launching him into the world of Biome. Um, so that's like the inspiration for that side of things. As for the inspiration for the magic system of aura manipulation, um, I people manipulate people in real life, right? And
Yes.
what I did is I classified it into 5 different auras that you can only manipulate one of them, and each aura to me identifies how people manipulate people in real life. So, for example, perception, it's the aura of illusions and senses. I mean,
Mm.
advertising, our presentation, things like that, is we're manipulating people in real life with those aspects, and that's what the perception aura kind of encapsulates.
Yeah.
And then the other 4 auras do different things in that capacity as well. So that's where that whole system was made. And then the cool thing about my story is I have mystical partner beasts that people bond with via aura, where you
Yes.
amplify each other's magic. I adore Pokemon. It is my biggest passion in life. I am a Pokemon master, and I can honestly say that. I will correct people if they say something wrong about Pokemon. My son loves talking to me about Pokemon because he goes, "You're nonstop with it." And he's actually doing really, really well for being a 7, 8 year old. Like his knowledge is pretty top notch. But I wanted something that integrated the magic system, which is very Avatar Last Airbender-esque, with
Mhm.
Pokemon, two of my favorite stories that have ever been created. And I wanted something that had both, right? And so that's where the world came from. And then obviously the mental health is a huge thing too. So,
Yeah, no, like all of those inspirations I think are phenomenal. And like you already kind of jumped into, like I was going to ask you about these partner beasts because I love any type of animal companions
mhm,
or just like that little creature that like tags along with the group and does something really cool. Um, I'm admittedly I feel like I was too old for Pokemon when it came out, like to get into that original, like it's like
mhm.
it was my thing.
There's
So
a
I've always
craze.
like
Yeah.
I've just always appreciated it from a distance, and all of my friends like play on the games and collect all of them. And I know Pikachu. I'm so sorry, but he's who I know. Um,
Yeah, and I mean, like Golden Compass, I sometimes use that
yes,
as a comparison for my books, just because they do have that partner beast-esque type of thing. Alebrijes, right, from
yes,
Mexican culture. That's also like a partner beast-esque type of thing. These actually behind me are some of the beasts,
yeah,
and I just loved creating these. And some of the beasts, even I integrated my kids helping me kind of create
hmm
them. They kind of give a baseline, and then we created the magic that each of the beasts have, and I just as a person who has a degree in marine biology, I adore animals. Like I
yeah,
honestly like animals more than people most of the time. Um, and
same,
I wanted, right, right. And I just wanted that to the animals to not just be side characters, but they truly are integral parts of personalities. And
hmm
you get that aspect of connecting via aura where you get a personality, you get opinions, you get things that you don't
yeah,
normally see from animals that I wanted to be in there because literally brains are connected in that
yeah.
space. Yeah.
So first of all, the one that's like directly above your head, it's kind of like an elephant
Yes.
with three
Yeah.
trunks. Yeah, what
Yeah.
is that one?
That
Because I
one
love
is
that.
Yeah, it's a trunkle is what it's
Oh,
called. It is my
perfect.
daughter helped me create it. She's 5, going to be 5.
Uh,
And it's not in the first 2 books. It's going to be in the third book.
oh, okay, something
Yeah,
to look forward to, guys. The trunkle. I
right.
love
Yeah,
this.
but this guy here,
Hmm.
Ricochet, he is the mascot. He was the first beast I created.
Okay.
He's the partner beast with my main character, Yaren. He's called a Riddle Dog. He expels light from the dots on his back. He also
Uh,
can manipulate the perception aura in minor ways, and his magic actually gets amplified as the story goes on. So that will evolve as well. Personal favorite is this guy here, the Snobbler. It is a tiny
wait,
little
wait. The
guy.
the snobbler.
Snobbler. Yeah. Yeah.
Amazing.
He's cute and he's very, very creepy. He's in book 2.
Yeah.
His digestive system is something interesting, is all I'll say. And you'll have to read the book about that one. Yeah. My son always says that he goes, "Your favorite dad is the Snobbler." And I go, "It is the Snobbler." Because when I created that thing, I just giggled for like 20 minutes straight.
I just like I just keep drawing my eye, and I'm just like,
Yeah.
wow, I really feel like that one. Like I just kind of feel like sometimes when I wake up in the morning, like the snobbler's expression, I'm like, ah.
Right.
Um,
Right.
you need to do one of those like scales of feelings with all the different creatures. Like, how are you feeling today on like a scale of
Right.
Trunkle to Snobbler, and just
Yeah.
like put them all in there.
Yeah. Yeah. I do in the back of the second book, I did a Pokedex-esque style thing where I did the Beasts
Mm,
of Biome. I did little drawings with them and then their powers. Because a lot of times, like, I don't feel like books have a glossary of what
yeah.
the beasts look like. And I wanted that just because I think it's hard to sometimes picture it. So I do in the back of the second book have, and the third book will have it too, just because my running glossary of the beasts just kept
Yes.
evolving. I think I'm at like 50-ish beasts now. So yeah.
Yeah, no, I love that. And I think that's something that you don't see a lot of, especially in YA. I feel like animal companions and like partner beasts are popular in middle grade, and in
Hmm.
YA they tend to disappear. And then they somehow mysteriously come back in adult fantasy type books.
Right.
But
Right.
teenagers just they're like not supposed to have them. And as a teenager, I was like, please give me a familiar or a beast or something. Like I wanted
Right.
that so bad. So I love that you're incorporating that in there.
And not just dragons, right? Because dragons, I
Right.
feel like, are always used as a beast. And I
Yes.
wanted different things that are a lot of them are inspired by real animals because I go the anatomy, the physiology, a lot of those things are not passed by in my books. I actually have them integrated with the ecosystem. So
Yeah.
like you learn science as you go along. But there are some beasts that are not like, I mean, the snobbler, I've never seen anything in my real, like maybe some people might say a hairy spider, but it's not a spider at all,
Yeah.
right? So it really just is, it just came out of my brain. I'm like, cool, but there you are, man.
Yeah, it's happening. You exist now.
Yep.
Um,
Yep.
I love all of that. So I took the quiz on your website and I learned that I'm a mentalist. So I get to control what people know, remember, and think, which is very
Hmm.
cool, but also very terrifying.
Hmm.
Um, so my first question is, what aura can you manipulate? Did you take the quiz? And what
Hmm.
aura do you have? And then my follow-up to that is, which one do you think is just the coolest one that you've created? Like if you had to pick one that would be like the best to have, which one would you say?
Okay. So the mentalist is the one that I not only identified with, but the quiz I created
Mm.
ended up pointing me in that direction. Which, by the way, my quiz is very nonlinear.
It
I made
is,
it
which
so
I
you
appreciate it.
can't, yeah, you can't gear it toward what you want. And I've had a lot of people say it actually was pretty accurate at who the person was and what they could manipulate. So I take a lot of pride in that quiz. It's very cool. It's free. It's on my website. But yeah, I definitely identify as a mentalist. I've always appreciated knowledge and learning and things like that. I think also as an author, I think most of them often fall under the mentalist or the
Yeah.
empathist side of things, just because that you're either are very deep into emotions or just knowledge in general, right? So that's
Hmm.
pretty characteristic of an
Yeah, that
author.
tracks. That tracks.
Right, right. I have to say the most interesting, I know you asked one question, but I think I have two answers. The
Oh,
most
please.
interesting one I created was the luck aura. The luck aura is the aura of outcomes. So there's the simple part of it is that those last second things that you don't have control over necessarily, a luckus can move favor into their side. Okay.
I love that.
But the luck aura, so all the auras are above all of us, right? But
Mhm.
as a, let's say, mentalist, I can only see the mentality aura and only move that aura. The luckists, the people can manipulate the luck aura, can when they move it, they've mastered in a way that they interfere with the other auras in minor ways, and so they can perform minor manipulations of the other four. Most of them lean toward the vigor aura, which is the aura of strength. The vigor aura can't be created; it can only be moved. So if I have, vigor aura all around me and I move it all to my
Mhm.
legs will get stronger and I can run faster. I move it to my arms get stronger, right?
Okay.
If I take it from you and put it in me, I get stronger, you get weaker. So the vigor aura is always in movement, but it can't be created. The luckists like to lean toward that because just the way their culture is of just valuing games and fighting with each
Mhm.
other and things like that. They lean towards messing with the vigor aura the most, while the other ones are a little bit neglected. So.
That's amazing. I really I'd like I'm always interested in how people figure out their magic system. So this is really cool to hear you kind of explain like how you arrived to this and what these different aspects mean. So thank you for sharing. It's very cool.
Your other question though, what one do I like the most?
Yeah.
I honestly like Perception Aura the most. It was a very fun one to create, and it is the launch of the story. The
Okay. And you said
Perception
that was like
Auras.
about illusions, like what people see or
Yeah, so you
okay.
mess with smell, taste, things like that.
Yeah.
But you're creating things. So I might make a wall, form between us, and you see the wall, right? But a
Hmm.
true perceptionist integrates the other senses. So when you get closer to the wall, you feel resistance, or
Right.
like different things like that. But if you keep walking, you're going to walk through that wall because it's not even there.
Hmm.
Um, the thing about the perception aura is too is that when they make that illusion appear, it actually impacts everyone around them so they all see the same item.
Cool.
So a perceptionist is, it was a fun one to create and I like the idea of creating things that aren't there. I think that'd be really fun to do.
Yeah.
So that's where I've always, and like I said, it's the first aura I really defined.
Hmm.
So it was a fun one for me. So.
Yeah. And so as the characters either discover that they can manipulate these auras, like they train and they level up. So they go from just being like, I can make you think there's a wall, like see a wall to the everybody in the room to being able to feel it or like smell the whatever the materials are or whatever. Um, so they just keep leveling up as they go.
Yeah, and like some of them can even they can whisper but make their voice amplify and
Okay.
impact your or around your ear that you can hear their whisper from far away. So like they can do a lot of really cool things that are just kind of was a fun thing to do, which is it's also just kind of wild because it's not real,
Right.
right? So everything they're doing is not actually there. They're just messing with things, which is what I view when we manipulate people in real life.
Yeah.
Really, advertisements aren't real things. You're promising things that aren't necessarily there, and you're capturing people to buy
Right.
items from you. So that's the idea of that one. Yeah.
Yeah. No, like there's so much potential for like cool, like these are really cool abilities, but there's a lot of potential for just doing some really scary stuff with them that are,
Yes.
that are not morally good.
Yeah.
So that's fun
Exactly.
to play with, I'm sure.
Yeah.
To just shift the conversation a little bit to the actual publication process. So, how did you approach self-publishing? And where did you kind of have your biggest learning curve?
Yeah, so as most authors, I initially pursued the traditional publication route, which for those that are unaware, it's a terrible letter called a query letter that you have to write to an agent to convince them in 500 words or less that they should read your story.
Yes.
And I, as most authors, found a lot of failure in that aspect, where I just wasn't getting anyone to even read my book, right? Um, and so that was a very discouraging time frame. I wrote the first two books in about 6 months in end of 2019, 2020 time frame,
Mhm.
which are the two that are published now. Pursued the publication route for a year and a half, 2 years with that book. I moved to another project, which will be the launch of my next phase next year. Found better traction with that one, but I hit a point where I started doing paid consultation. I did two paid consultations with an
Mhm.
agent just to have them read my query letter and tell me what am I doing wrong.
Right.
They read it and said, "Oh, this is a great letter." Cool. They also read my first 5 pages of my book. "Oh, this is a great story." Cool. I asked, why is no one wanting to read it? Well, the market, like you used, one of the issues with your query letter is you used a comp of Aragon by Christopher Paolini, The Inheritance Cycle, as a comp, and it's a 20-year-old book. And I said, yeah, but he's literally releasing Murtagh, which is the fifth book
Yeah.
of that now. So
Still
how is he not
relevant. Yeah.
relevant? Yeah. And he said, well, that's just the way the market is. So I took to TikTok and I created a post of saying things I like as a writer. It was kind of an emotional response and got a huge influx. I got like 10,000 followers in
Oh,
like a
wow.
few weeks. Just for this post I did about like what I like about writing and things like that. And everyone was like, I love Aragon. Why doesn't anyone ever talk about Aragon and things like that? And then I started questioning the publication industry of like, okay, now I don't feel like this is the right route I want to go. And I also talked to a lot of friends that did worked with agents and found out that they weren't getting help after the book was published with marketing it.
Yeah.
So I was like, what, why am I pursuing this route where I'm not necessarily going to get the help I need to get it out there? And I've always been a charismatic person that can talk about things in real life.
Yeah.
And so I started investigating the self-publication route. I'm like, this seems to fit me better. Like it has the timeline I want of when I want my book to get published. Did I make mistakes with my first book? Absolutely. I've changed the cover already, right? I did things that you don't know what to expect.
Right.
And I finally found my niche and I found this avenue that's working for me and things are going a lot better than it did. I published my first book last July, and then published my second book in March of this past year. And the second book, so much smoother, right? Once you publish one book, you kind of get your ground, your bearings into things. Second book went a lot smoother. And third book, I'm like so on top of things now, right? I have everything's planned. I'm like going through that all. But you have so many things you have to figure out, cover design, you have to figure out formatting, developmental editing, which a lot of people
Mhm.
pass by, which is the most important editing in my opinion.
Agreed.
Copy editing, proofreading. There's so many things that people don't necessarily think through, that it takes a lot to get a book out there. It was quite the experience with my mental health of going that route, mostly with imposter syndrome and comparing myself to other fellow indie authors that are finding success, because that's what we like to do is, focus
Right.
on the successes. so happy for them, but at the same time, I'm like, why isn't that happening for me? Right. So that's like a normal thing that happens for us as humans. Um, but I've hit an area now where I feel like the growth in my mental health from this experience has just been wonderful, and I really truly cherish it. It's helped me
That's
find
so
my
good.
own voice. It's helped me, handle my anxiety in new ways that I didn't know I could and integrate it in wonderful, beautiful ways. So there's just a lot of good things that have happened from this process, and I don't regret doing this route. I've loved self-publishing. Not an everyday thing. There are days I wake up and feel like I suck, right? That's just how I wake up sometimes. But a lot of the days I find that encouragement. I read the reviews, I read what people are saying about my book, the interactions I'm having in person about it. These beasts, I mean, when I look at these
Mm.
drawings, I just feel such pride in them. There's just a lot of cool things that have happened, and I'm loving the journey. So
Yeah, no, all of that is amazing. And like you're right, there's a lot. As someone who is still sending out some query letters like every now and then, I actually got two passes yesterday. So I'm like, yes,
yeah,
good consistency, universe. This is happening.
right.
Um, but I did actually like kind of like you talked about your consultation. I had this really kind pass on a full. So like this agent actually read my entire manuscript and they're like, this is I really liked a lot of things about it and your writing is very strong. But I just didn't love it enough. And I'm like, oh, like, could you at least tell me
Mm,
that you hated it and that's why you passed instead of
right.
like, I really loved it, but no.
Like you
Um,
want that criticism of
yeah,
like what to make yourself better, and you don't get it.
yeah.
You just get these very sometimes you get a little tiny bit that says, well, I
Mhm.
liked this but didn't like this, but it's like then you fixate on that and this like spiral out of control and just convince yourself that it's a terrible
Yeah.
book, right? And
It's
it's
so
not
weird.
it's
So
such a
weird.
weird
Yeah.
experience, and it's not a fun one, that's for sure.
No, it's not. It's not. And
No.
I think that you made a really good point with the fact that traditional publishing has a very specific target market and they have a very narrow view of what they think is going to sell or is worth publishing. And that always makes me sad because I do look at all these different books that are out there and um I mean like your books and I other people that I've talked to and interviewed and they're just like why are we not putting these out there because these are actually really good.
Right.
Um, so yeah,
Yeah, and
so that's it's rough.
I didn't want something that's been done before, right? I wanted
Right.
it something new and fresh, and that's where I don't think the traditional publication route values that enough, right? And that's my challenge with it. There's certain authors like Brandon Sanderson who just creates a
Mhm.
wild magic system every time he picks up a
Yeah.
pen. But there's so many magic systems that I'm reading more and more indie authors now, and there's just some really cool stuff out there that just don't get to see the light of day. That is such a
Mhm.
bummer, but
Yeah. And I do feel like especially in today's economy, indie authors are kind of getting a lot more attention and more traction with everything because you have so many more authors who are like, wait, traditional publishing, there's too many gatekeepers there. I have a really good
Mhm.
story, and there are people who want this.
Right.
And so you see people doing more. I see more indie author books in like Barnes and Nobles at my local used bookstore. He's got a whole shelf of them. So I love it. I think it's really
Yeah.
great.
It's a fun way the market's moving for sure, which is
Yes,
people driven, which is the coolest part. But
yes.
yeah,
This is what the people want to read. So you know
yep,
what? Traditional publishing, just go away.
right, exactly.
Um, so you kind of already hit on this question a little bit. I wanted to ask you how you balance taking care of yourself and your mental health with all of the stresses that come with being an indie author. So do you want to share, do you have some like specific strategies that you could share with our audience of things that you always do to help make sure that you're taking care of you?
Yeah, you gotta still do the things that you enjoy doing and, surround yourself with the people that are building you up. I think that's one thing you kind of learn through the process of those that are there to support you and those that don't. So that's a huge thing you learn from the process of self-publication. And a lot of conversations have happened in my like personal life of just trying to figure out myself and my new voice because like one thing that will absolutely happen when you publish is you do change in a way.
Yeah.
You what the biggest thing is you find your voice, which is huge, and you find confidence in your voice. And maybe sometimes it comes from delusion because just because if you keep, battering yourself down, you're just going to go through this mental spiral that just is going to not be
Sometimes you
good
just
for
have
you.
to
It's just
fake it till you make it.
exactly. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Taylor Swift says that well, right? And
Yes.
so um I do take like what a lot of accomplished artists have done, specifically in the music space. I adore lyrics and things like that. So
Hmm.
that's my biggest area when I'm feeling down. I listen to my favorite artists and them talking about their own trials and tribulations that they've gone through, which sometimes is applicable, sometimes not, but you'll find like a different song hits you at different
Yeah.
times that really speaks to you in a way that you didn't expect it to before. And that's why I love complicated lyrics, right? Because you don't always know the clear answer of what they're saying, and that's where it hits you in a different way every time. So
Yeah. And then
that's
like
my
a year
biggest
later,
space
you
is music.
listen to that song, you're like, oh my
Yeah,
gosh, I get
right.
it now. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. And so it's a fun thing. And that makes you also appreciate the creative space of other people too. So
Hmm.
music is my biggest release, and what I lean toward. But I mean, some people like to read more. Some people like to play video games more. Some people like to paint, do exercise. There's so many
Yeah.
different things you can do. And you just have to find, I personally exercise every day. That's an important thing for me. Every morning I wake up to work out. Because it helps me with my own anxiety and kind of managing that. It's meditation to me, right?
Hmm.
And meditation, I think, is a very important thing that you need to do too, which once again, music, working out, whatever it can be, but make sure you have that time set aside to allow
Yeah.
for that.
Like kind
Yeah.
of like clear your mental space and just let it be for a little bit.
Yep. Yeah.
Yeah.
And blank or thinking, like you don't,
Hmm.
whichever fits you best. And there are times that I just go numb, dissociate and just, do my
Yeah.
workout and like then come out clear. And then there are days I think through my day before, think through the things I want to do
Hmm.
today because I'm in a good headspace for it. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. And you
Yeah.
just have to take each day as its own entity and do what's best in that moment. So
And
follow-up
appreciate the
question.
moment. Yeah.
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 So since you kind of brought in this idea of lyrics, when you write, are you a person who has to write in silence or can you listen to music when you write?
It depends. I typically do listen to music when I write, especially editing.
Hmm.
I think that I'll skip songs all the time because it's not
Yeah.
hitting the mood I'm in. But for the most part, my major playlist does hit the moods I want. I've started more so picking specific songs for a character or an artist and listen to just that artist for that character because I think it captures them well.
Yes.
So, like for example, I have an empathist in the third book who is a bit depressive and really thinks about people's emotions. And so I listen to Evanescence because she's the darkness of my soul and I adore her.
Yes.
And she captures that character in a good way of just that conflict in her brain. So like I'll pick artists that really help gear me in that way. Yeah.
Yeah, I do the same thing. Like I have my playlist, and if I'm in a specific scene that like links up with a specific song or really trying to get a character's attitude, I'll even put that song on loop and like just listen to it
Yes.
for like 2 hours.
Right.
And then my
Right.
Spotify algorithm is all off because they're like, why did you do this for 2 hours? I'm like, well,
Right.
waiting.
And then there are the times the music distracts me. And so
Yeah.
I'll go silent and when I'm writing. And that's often when it's a character that I think I'm pulling from myself, if that makes
Okay.
sense, right? Because I'm
Yeah.
trying not to have outside influences impact, but there's like a part of me that I've lived through or things like that, or I've talked to someone else that I knew lived through this and integrate that into that character. So yeah,
Nice.
and that's where
Nice.
silence is necessary because it helps
Yeah.
clear your brain. Yeah,
Yeah.
but mostly
Um,
music for sure.
yeah, I'm total music fan.
Yeah.
What is your best piece of advice for other writers who are looking to self-publish?
Just write number one. You can plan as much as you want to, but believe me, just write. It is not going to be pretty. That's what a first draft is. Don't, fixate on the hypercritical punctuations and grammar and things like that. Don't worry too much about your word choice. Even if you don't have a character named, put like just an insert
Bracket.
something and you can change their name. There's a few characters I've changed their name several times because I'm like, this doesn't work, this doesn't work, this doesn't work, and that's okay.
Yeah.
Um, and then I also highly recommend get a critique group. Your local libraries, your bookshops, they all have one. I was a part of one with my library for quite some time. First off, putting yourself out there to have someone else read your story that you don't know, is the most nerve-wracking thing you'll ever do, but it is the most beautiful thing that
Yeah.
happens. there will be criticism with it for sure, but you'll also get some praise. And it really encourages you as a writer to hone your craft. And you learn so much from other
Yes.
people. I had a older gentleman in my writing group who was a former professor at a college in my hometown. And man, that man was critical. And he made a few people cry, honestly, and not come back to the group. So like maybe not the best space, but I improved so much from his criticism
Hmm.
to make myself a better writer, and also built a backbone because he didn't like fantasy books. And so every time he read mine, he's like, I don't like fantasy. And you eventually, it helps you build up and just understanding that not everyone's going to like what you
Yeah.
write, but it
That's such a
doesn't
good
mean it
thing to
doesn't
learn.
have that. Yeah. And you need to hear people say that. It helps build your backbone because you're going to need that later on.
Yeah.
Um, so yeah, those are the two areas, and community is so important. You need
Agreed.
a strong community, author communities, those will grow as things go on. And
Mhm.
the community I have now is just a wonderful space that I adore. Yeah.
Yeah, no, I agree with all of those things. Especially obviously, like I know my critique partner, when I first started with my first manuscript, was a fellow teacher, and she
Mm.
taught the AP 12th graders, and so she would just bring her red pen, and we would go to a local restaurant for breakfast, and I would buy her pancakes, and she would sit there and just like mark up my entire manuscript, and I'm like, wow. But I
That's
learned
fun to
so
watch
much from
live,
her.
isn't it? That's
Oh
fun
yeah,
fun to
like because
watch
that
live.
yeah, I did everything. It was everything like face to face. And I would just like stare at her while she would like read in front of me. And I'm like, this is nerve-wracking. But overall, like I feel like it made such an impact on the writer I am today. And
Yeah.
she'll read something and she's like, oh, you didn't use passive voice for like 6 pages. Good job. And I'm like, thank you. So
Which still happens. I can't believe it slips through. Passive voice like slips through so easily. It's
yes,
because we
yes,
talk that way, and it's just
it
it's
is.
hard to not do what you speak like, right?
Right, yeah. And sometimes it's okay, but other times, like most of the time, it's not good in writing. So you want to
Well,
just,
I still have nightmares of the word toward and towards.
oh yeah,
And most people don't know this, but I say towards all the time, which is
yep.
British. The English
Oh,
way is toward, and if you're writing towards, it's not the proper way to write in America. Yeah,
I I just always thought that we added the S on it because it made it easier to glide into the next word. Because
British.
I say towards.
Yeah, we're not supposed to do that in American literature. And that's once again the older gentleman that was in my writing
Yeah,
group. Like I had nightmares when he first said that. And
yeah,
now when people say towards, I want to point it out because it is so integrated into my
yeah,
brain now.
yeah. Because it's a speaking thing, but like when you write, you don't put that S on there. Yeah,
Yeah.
it is. It's
Yeah,
crazy.
it's interesting for sure. But if you listen to music, Florence and the Machine sings
Yeah.
towards, but Taylor Swift doesn't. So like I'm recognizing now I can tell someone's from Britain based off their music.
Oh my gosh, I don't think I've ever picked up. Like I listened to both of them, and I've never picked up on that because I'm just too busy jamming with the music.
Sorry for wrecking your world.
No, you didn't. I love this kind of stuff. Like this, I like now I'm gonna pay attention.
Right,
Um,
right.
like I'm on it. This is homework. So, your next book comes out, you said in December?
November, December.
Okay.
I just designed the cover. I did my own covers. So I have the third one, and I'm excited about this cover because the way I describe my books is book one is like world building intro. Book
Hmm.
two is emotional damage. I adore book two. It is a mental health gymnastics. It is very, very lots of betrayal. I adore that book. And the
Fabulous.
third book is going to be an explosion of beast and magic. I'm
Okay.
taking the magic to tenfold. And so it's going to be a very fun story. The cover is more fun. Like I said, it's like that conclusion for this part of the story too. And the way things are going now, I'm hoping it'll be closer to November.
Okay.
So I'm pretty optimistic about hitting that, which also will give more time for ARC readers, advanced reader copy readers to kind of get
Hmm.
their hands on it before, because I think the more time you give them, the better too. So
Yeah. And what's the title?
it's the hopes of Toterum. So
Okay.
it'll be
I
the
love it.
walls of Toterum, which has a meaning, the calamities of Toterum,
Mhm.
because there's so much calamity in it. And then which also, I'm not gonna lie, I love Legend of Zelda. It's one of my favorite things that's ever
Yeah.
happened in life. And calamity, Ganon is like a big thing in one part of the story. So like the word calamity, I just adore that word. So I'm
Mhm.
like, I have to use it. And then the third book is the hopes of Toterum. So you're finally getting glimpses of light that there's
Excellent.
so much darkness in my books. So
But
yeah.
that's like a prerequisite of YA is that it
Yes.
always ends in hope no matter how dark it gets. There's always that
Yeah.
hope of the
Right.
better future. So,
And there's a lot of like loose ends too. Like it's not going to just end happy per
right.
se, but it's like you have to have some type of victory in some type of way. Right.
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. No, that's exciting. So, if people join up for your newsletter, will they get to
Yeah.
know like when they could possibly request an arc or even
Yep.
pre-order?
Yeah, and I'll do
Okay.
the newsletter will get to see the cover before everyone else does. So
Okay.
there's a lot of advantages to my newsletter. And then if you take my quiz, it actually asks if like you want to put your email in, then
Mhm.
you got kind of get tied into it too. But yeah.
Awesome. So guys,
Yeah.
that'll be down in the links below the website, Benjamin's website. Go there, sign up for that newsletter because you're gonna want to get in on this. And that gives you time to all read books 1 and 2. So we're ready.
Yep. Which is
Yeah.
on KU Kindle Unlimited too, in case
Mhm.
anyone wants to do that style instead,
Yeah.
and obviously hardcovers and things like that. But yeah,
Yeah. I'm such a physical book
physical.
person.
Right.
It's really hard for me to read things on my Kindle because I feel like I read so much of my own manuscript and my writing
Right.
group's manuscripts. I'm just like, I need to not look at a screen.
Right. Right. I'm the same way. I prefer
Yeah.
hard book or Audible. Those are like my two
Yes.
areas I like. Yeah. But
Yeah.
I don't have Audible, unfortunately. That's extra money, and I'm not to that point yet. So
Yeah. No, that's fair. Libby, do you use Libby?
no.
Okay, it's an app. It's free. It connects you with like your local library or whatever library you have a library card for, and then you
Hmm.
can rent like all of your favorite audiobooks for 2 weeks and
Oh,
listen to
cool.
them. Yeah, that's how I do my audiobooks because it is expensive. And
Yeah, it definitely. I meant more recording my own
oh yeah, that's also true.
Audible. Yeah, that's the route I'm talking. That's like the
Okay, yeah.
biggest like, and I'm
Yes.
as an independent author, my expenses are right put into all of it, and so that's where I
Yes.
eventually want to do it. But getting there.
Yeah.
Some
Yeah,
people
and
are
that
saying, yeah, I have a lot of people that said you should do your own Audible because you have a voice that would work well for it. I hate my own voice, so like that's where I'm not sure if I
aw.
can do that. But I'm also reading a lot of books to my son and doing character
Mhm.
voices and things like that. So I think it's something I might do. I don't know. We'll see.
Yeah, you could
Yeah.
one day, but maybe just not today. It's not that time yet.
It's not. No, I want to get this book out first, and then I'm going to
Yeah.
entertain the idea of Audible. So, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Love that. Okay, so now we get to one of my favorite parts. Like I
Mhm.
always love this, but I like asking my lightning round questions because they're off topic and I think that they're fun. So, what is your
Go for it.
favorite ice cream flavor?
Favorite ice cream flavor is mint chocolate chip. Um,
No,
yeah,
no. Oh,
I love mint.
hey,
I also have always liked chocolate chip cookie dough. That's always been a close runner up. But
that's a
yeah,
that's a better choice. Like I might be silently judging you right now. Mint chocolate chip is like the bottom of the barrel for me. Like that would be
I don't
pure
like the
torture.
green. I don't like the green one. I like the natural, like the yeah, where it's made with natural mint because that
Okay.
green that believe it or not, when you grind up mint, it doesn't turn into that bright green color, right?
Yeah, no, I'm sure that
It's
that's added
yeah. I like the
ingredients.
natural where it's actually white ice cream that has
Mhm.
mint leaf kind of integrated into it.
Yeah.
So if that
All right.
changes things.
I mean, I will respect your poor choice, but I don't know. I don't know.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah.
okay. Do you have a favorite Taylor Swift song?
Absolutely. I am a huge Swiftie myself.
Yes.
I know all her albums and everything. There's multiple levels to how to answer that question. Overall, I love Evermore, the album, and Right Where You Left Me is, I think, one of her best lyrical masterpieces she's ever done, and the emotions captured in that song I adore that song. I
It is
first fell in love
beautiful.
with Yeah, and I first fell in love with Taylor Swift during the Speak Now era, and
Okay.
Mean is always been a song that I've always loved. So
But
it's
those
kind
are
of a
both
twofold answer. Yeah.
excellent answers. My personal favorite song is New Year's Day on
Okay.
the Reputation album.
Yes.
I just like it breaks my heart every time I hear it and I love it. So
Well, and I love that I don't know if you knew this, but for her Eras tour, she started off with her first song and debut for the bonus section. And
uh-huh.
then she ended with New Year's Day for the last Eras thing, which is the
Oh, I
end
did
of
not know that.
her, her stolen album
Nice.
time frame.
Yeah, that's
Yeah, so that's
fascinating.
a very cool. I have a lot of interesting Taylor Swift knowledge. I just adore
Yeah.
Taylor Swift. She
No,
is
she's
a
amazing.
beautiful
Absolutely amazing.
human. She's
Yes.
amazing. Like, and the people that rip on her, good for you. but come on.
Yeah. Like I'm okay if somebody doesn't like her music because it's not for everyone,
Yeah,
but I'm like she is such a
absolutely.
solid human being. Like just leave her alone.
Yes.
Um okay, so
Yeah.
which did you make it to the Eras tour? Please tell me that you made it. Okay.
Yeah, Detroit, night one, I got Haunted as our bonus song, which was our first time
Nice.
singing Haunted for the Eras tour, which was just loved it. I also I didn't get the Torture Poets department, we weren't there yet,
Right.
unfortunately, but I did get more of that Evermore time frame, which honestly I probably would have chosen. As much as
Hmm.
I love Torture Poets department, Evermore is my jam. So
Yeah.
yeah.
No,
My
that's
dark
amazing.
jam.
As it should
Yeah,
be.
I
As
love
it should
Lover,
be.
Lover and Evermore. Lover and Evermore are my like two
Two
favorites. I
favorites.
say I love Lover more. Lover more is my thing. But
Yeah, I'm definitely Reputation, and then Tortured Poets. Like those are my two favorite. I actually ended up kind of by chance getting to see her in Dublin when she
oh,
was over there because I happened to be traveling with some friends in Europe and we she announced her tour and I'm like, what if we just extended our stay for like 4 more days and went to the
yeah.
so we went. So I got the Tortured Poets thing, but it was fun. And just to be clear, like I love Taylor Swift, but I'm a like lower level, like high casual, low level
Right,
Swifty.
right.
I just really enjoy her music. I couldn't tell you that many things.
Yeah, I know too much about her. And like that is like I don't get excited about like celebrities, but like if I had a
Mhm.
chance to meet her in person, I wouldn't overwhelm her. One thing I would say to her is I love Lover, the
Yeah.
album. But the song Me, and a lot of people like Me, I don't like Me.
Oh,
So I would
interesting.
ask her what was her reason for writing that song? Would be my only question. That would be my main question. But
Yeah. Oh, that's
that
fascinating because
song
I
is
do
just like
like
an
that
it's an
song.
earworm. It's an
Yeah,
earworm to me. I don't
it
know.
it is. It's actually it's on one of my writing soundtracks for one of my
Really.
characters. So yeah,
Yeah, good for you. Good for you.
my character like if my one of my characters could go to a Taylor Swift concert like that existed in my fantasy world, she would totally go.
Okay. Yeah,
So,
I immediately when that song ever comes on, I'm like flying to skip.
oh,
It's the
fascinating.
only skip for her. Like that is the
Yeah,
only one I skip. But yeah.
I love that though.
But Reputation is no
Yeah,
skips. I do have to say overall for an album, I think Reputation is near perfection because like
yeah,
literally every song
it's
is
solid. It's so
very
solid.
relevant. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Okay, so now I have what could potentially be a controversial question.
Mhm.
Because this usually gets when I ask this, people are like, "Wait, how can you say that?" So which did you enjoy more, the original Avatar: The Last Airbender or Legend of Korra?
Original easily.
Okay.
Original was perfection of a series. The character arcs were beautiful, especially for
Yes.
Zuko. And
Yes.
I can't think of a single minute I disliked that show. Legend of Korra, you can tell was written as standalone seasons as opposed to
Hmm.
an integration. So that's my struggle with it. And I love the spirit realm, but there are certain aspects of it I think it got blown a little out of proportion. So like there's you couldn't recapture what the Avatar Last Airbender did.
Right.
And I appreciate Legend of Korra because you integrated technology advancements and there's a lot of cool things and like the creative aspect of it was really well done.
Hmm.
I just thought that you could tell the story was really not continuous. I do love the what was it, the second season with Ra and right the
Yes.
light and dark fighting each other. I adored that season. That's definitely a strength to me. But as a collective, Legend of Korra,
Yeah.
yeah.
I would agree. Like the original Avatar is my absolute favorite, and I love like Korra's overall arc from beginning to end, but I totally agree with you on that. Like it just wasn't quite as continuous as like
Hmm.
seamless as the original was. Um, so yeah, yeah, they're so good.
Yeah.
Um,
I'm excited
I
for the new one that's coming out, though. That'll be fun.
yeah, I'm excited to
Yeah.
see what happens with that. So fingers
Yeah.
crossed.
Right.
It 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 meets the standard because I feel like
Yes.
as fans of Avatar, like we don't mess around.
Right.
Like M. Night Shyamalan did that movie, and we're all like, no, that was just wrong. I don't know how you
Right.
feel about the movie, but I was not a fan.
Right. Well, sorry, one more thing about Legend of Korra.
Yeah.
Appa, which
Yes.
love Appa, and then you had her polar dog. What was it again? Polar dog?
Yes. I can't. Yeah, I can't remember the name though.
But it's polar bear dog mix,
Yes.
and a little lackluster for a beast, honestly. Like I thought it was not that creative for all the other
Hmm.
cool things they created. And Appa
Yeah.
was such a cool beast that I adore, which I go to a lot of Galaxy kind of events to sell my book with another bookshop. And I missed one of them, but they apparently had a life-size Appa you could sit on to get a picture.
Oh
I would
my
have like
God.
screamed because I
Same.
love Appa's one of my favorite things that's ever been created.
Yeah, I would have been like, take my money. Like it's
Yeah,
$60 to sit on
right,
that and take my own picture. Like, here's my bank
right.
account
Yeah,
information.
they had a little Momo on top of his head too,
Oh,
which is kind of cute. But
yeah.
like, I like Momo, but like Appa is like
Oh,
that
Appa
personnel was
is
such a great beast. Yeah.
the absolute best.
Yes.
100%.
Yeah.
100%.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, no, thank you so much for joining me. This has been a blast as far as the conversation. So Scribblers, remember you can find links to Benjamin's webpage down below in the description for the videos. Check it out, order books, find out where to find him on social media, all that kind of stuff. Benjamin, thank you so much for joining the Scribblers Den for an interview. It's been a pleasure chatting with you.
Yeah. Thanks for having me. It's been really fun.
So Scribblers, you know the drill. I need you to hit the like button. I need you to subscribe. I'll get my words right. And we'll see you next time. Bye, everyone.
Bye.